She forgot to record.
I missed it.
I didn't have my usual coaches there. So
Turn on the recorder.
Are you recording yet? We had a great session too, but well.
Anyway,
the best one ever, I'm sure, right?
It was.
That's what Ken usually said, right?
You should have started heard herself, like complimenting everything that happened.
Oh, I did until I realized that I hadn't
recorded.
Anyway.
So, Lee came back. Brave Lee. Hi,
yes,
Lee.
Good morning, Lee.
Good morning.
We're going to talk about willingness today because Jesus told me to. I don't really want to do this topic, but you know how he is. Won't let up until I talk about it a little bit, to myself mostly. Willingness, it was like, the Course uses the word like 100 times, more than 100. And uses that phrase, little willingness, at least 6 times that I could find. He uses it in other ways, small willingness, little wish, a little sigh. I like that. All we have to do is sigh towards forgiveness. In fact, let's look at that. I really like that. It's hopefully I marked it. It's in chapter 26. It's on page 555, and it's paragraph 10 in the text in chapter 26 on page 555, paragraph 10. He's talking about salvation and how we have an experience of the holy instant, how we have an experience of salvation. And he says, salvation, perfect and complete, asks but a little wish, a little itty-bitty wish, that what is true be true, a little willingness to overlook what is not there, meaning all of our judgments, basically. Everything that we think we see, touch, hear, etc. A little sigh. We're on page 556 at the top. A little sigh, just a little. Maybe I'll let Jesus in a little bit today. A little sigh that speaks for heaven as a preference to this world that death and desolation seem to rule. One of the things we noticed in doing the death and dying seminar and getting ready for it was death was almost in every other paragraph. Like we didn't see it before. Well, we saw it, but not that much. I mean, and in this case, it even shows up here, even in terms of talking about a little willingness to have the Holy Spirit show us something else. Line 2, in joyous answer, will creation rise within us to replace the world we see with heaven, holy, perfect, and complete? What is forgiveness but a willingness that truth be true? So that just, I looked up willingness in the dictionary, and he, I kind of like this one. I pick out the one I like the best. So to decide upon or choose a course of action, to resolve upon that course. So we're kind of choosing to try to let Jesus in, to allow the Holy Spirit to show us the answer to the statement. There must be another way of looking at this. There's got to be another way of looking at this, and I'm a little willing, a little desirous of having that experience. So anyway, we'll look at in chapter 18, Lynn's favorite chapter. We'll look at section 4, which, believe it or not, on page 380 is called The Little Willingness. How appropriate. And we actually read this morning, and it really was pretty clear about what willingness looks like and how what a little willingness looks like. There's other places in the course that where he says the exact opposite, seemingly anyway. He says it takes a great willingness to do this with all of our brothers, to look at them a different way. Other places it says it takes a perfect willingness.
Talk about bait and switch, huh? Start with a little.
Yeah,
Well, I really meant abundant willingness.
Yeah, no kidding. Start little, then go big. Like, you got to do this with everybody. Oh.
Or all I need is your full attention, your total attention, all of the time.
So, I mean, yeah. But the door opens with a little sigh in that direction. I can do that, even on a bad day. I can sigh in that direction. So we're on page 380 in the text, paragraph 1. I'll let Lynn read the first one.
All right. The holy instant is the result of your determination to be holy. Your determination to be holy. Whole as opposed to split in conflict. It is the answer. The desire and the willingness to let it come precede its coming. You prepare your mind for it only to the extent of recognizing that you want it above all else. It is not necessary that you do more. Indeed, it is necessary that you realize that you cannot do more. Do not attempt to give the Holy Spirit what he does not ask, or you will add the ego to him and confuse the two. He asks but little. It is he who adds the greatness and the might. He joins with you to make the holy instant far greater than you can understand. It is your realization that you need do so little that enables him to give so much.
So that kind of frames what we're asking for here. And I thought we would do the little meditation at the bottom of page 381 to let to allow us a moment to allow the Holy Spirit into our awareness, to allow Jesus' presence to kind of sink in, that it's actually in, through, and around us right this second, and that it's possible to look at each other and ourselves the way they see us. So, Jeannie, I'm going to unmute you, and if you will, read the italicized prayer on page 381, please.
I, who am host to God, am worthy of him. He who established his dwelling place in me created it as he would have it be. It is not needful that I make it really for him, but only that I do not interfere with his plan to restore to me my own awareness of my readiness, which is eternal. I need add nothing to his plan.
Thanks. We'll get quiet for a minute. I'll bring us out.
There's more.
Oh, there is more? Sorry, Jeannie.
Yes. But to receive it, I must be willing not to substitute my own in place.
Oh, yeah, minor D. Bring us out in a little bit. And gently come back. Jeannie, you have any thoughts about what you just read?
Well, I know I'm in trouble when I substitute my will for the Holy Spirit.
What about when you substitute your will for my will? Don't work
Tim's will.
Yeah,
Oh.
Tim's will be done.
well, yeah.
Whenever I see the word substitution, I have a little mnemonic device I find helpful. That is substitution, separation, and specialness all have the letters S-I-N in them. So that's kind of my expanded definition for sin. Yeah. Yeah, using course reinterpretation.
Say them again. Substitution.
Substitution, separation, and specialness.
All have sin in them.
Yeah, and it's a seemingly separate self that
Yeah.
engages in that. The SSS. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
The one I like is when we were learning how to spell back in grade school, there's a rat in separate.
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 Yeah.
We all become the little rats when we separate. Oh, we think we are.
What it seems to indicate here is that I am always ready. My readiness is eternal. And it's the Holy Spirit's job to restore to me my awareness of my readiness, which is, different than we may think of it. We're already always ready, and the Holy Spirit restores that to our awareness. That at any instant that we would give a little nod to the Holy Spirit, or the littlest willingness to learn from him, that he would make clear that our readiness is worthy. We're already ready.
Jane?
What comes to me too is the fact that if we ever have a wish or a desire, we know we're in our ego. So, the ego wishes, the spirit wills. And it's kind of easy that way, because to know where you are.
Yeah.
if it's a little willingness, what your intentions are. If it's willingness, then it will be coming from the right place. But if you're wishing for something to happen and have the Holy Spirit make it happen, it won't happen.
Right.
Oh, it could happen, but it will be from the ego.
Right.
I was thinking as we were looking at this that a couple of things going on, that he's addressing this not to Tim as Tim or Lynn as Lynn, not stick figures in the dream, but to our decision maker in any given moment. Because if I think I'm the stick figure that needs to have the desire to somehow be a bigger stick figure, that was the problem in the first place. I was identifying with the stick figure, and if the stick figure wishes to do something, then it's just reinforcing I'm a stick figure. So, and it seems subtle, but it's not. It's just that's the problem. Is he's addressing me as a decision maker, that I have a choice between stepping out of the box of looking at me as Tim, and am I willing to see you and me as something else? I start with you because you're the obvious bad guy most of the time. But, am I willing to see beyond these images, beyond these stick figures, to another identity that is already eternal, that is already aware of this kind of whatever eternal readiness even means.
A couple paragraphs below the italicized quote is probably one of my favorite celebrity roast. If there was an infinitely kind version of Don Rickles, this would be it, where Jesus is poking fun of our egos. I don't know if you plan to read that or not, but I have it heavily underlined.
After that, prep.
Oh, okay, all right.
Lay it on us, Bruce.
All right. It is this that makes the holy instant so easy and so natural. You make it difficult. I have this underlined because I really need to learn it. Basically, I'll start again. It is this that makes the holy instant so easy and so natural. You make it difficult because you insist there must be more you need do. You find it difficult to accept the idea that you need give so little and to receive so much. And it's very hard for you to realize it is not personally insulting that your contribution and the Holy Spirit's are so extremely disproportionate. And here's the clincher. You are still convinced that your understanding is a powerful contribution to the truth and makes it what it is. Yet we have emphasized that you need to understand nothing. Salvation is easy just because it asks nothing you cannot give right now. I love the humor there.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, by the way, you might want to kind of look at that ego thing that you cherish and polish and hold on, put on such a pedestal, anyway.
Nothing, the last 2 or 3 nothings. Muji's nothing, 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 nothing. The sentence that stood out to me in paragraph 1 back on page 380, line 3, the desire and the willingness is what needs to precede our having an experience of the third step of forgiveness. To experience this holy instant where Jesus' presence is palpable. We know he's in, through, and around everything that I'm seeing, and we're okay. We're still innocent in spite of what we did or didn't do. And the desire and the willingness to have that experience, a little desire, a little sigh, a little wish in that direction, and how are desire and willingness even different? If they're different, are they the same? And so there's kind of like a willingness, like I'm ready to try out that possibility that there must be another way. And then the desire, like, yeah, I kind of have this desire because my way has been causing me all this pain. And I'm kind of desirous at least to get out all this pain I'm in. And if this might help a little, the pain of our judgments, the pain of being relentlessly judging. I mean, that's what we begin to get in touch with, I think, working all these lessons, and realize how much almost incessantly we have to judge to maintain our identity as a stick figure in the dream that Tim, the 5 senses of Tim, these 5 little radar things I send out, tell me who the bad guy is in any given moment. The bad guy in relationship to the stick figure, Tim. So, I mean, to maintain my identity as a stick figure, a vulnerable little stick figure that is being caused pain, I'm not calling it a dream. I'm calling this is my reality. This is who I am, and you're the source of my pain. Whether you're a germ, or whether you're a body, or whether you're traffic, or whatever it is I'm saying is somehow taking my peace away, somehow challenging me and my serenity.
That's the time for the little willingness, right?
Yeah, and the secret of salvation is but this: we're doing this to ourselves, meaning we're doing this to this poor little stick figure. I'm doing it to you as a stick figure, and I'm doing it to me. And I'm saying we're not the Son of God, but we're these stick figures running around that are very vulnerable to all kinds of things. So there's a desire to give up all this judgment because it's causing us relentlessly a lot of pain. I might think I'm right, but it's not a lot of fun at all.
It's so bizarre when you think about it, the way you just explained it, that Tim's calling the body the stick figure. Sometimes we refer to it as a puppet, but the Course says there's no life at all within the body. The body is a projected image, a symbol of the thought of separation. So it's actually just a projected image that we placed outside of ourselves, and then we instruct it from the ego's perspective to actually seek and find enemies in order to prove that we're bodies and we can be hurt and injured and unfairly treated. And that's the game of the world. I mean, everybody in this world is playing that game until we leave the world by truth, as the Course says. The world is not left by death. That was our whole seminar in Wisconsin. You don't leave the world through death. You leave the world through a conscious decision, a conscious choice for truth, to let the truth be true and nothing else be true. And as we practice that, we literally learn that body, that puppet figure, we just stop, giving it instructions to find enemies everywhere. But the idea that we're projecting this entire game outside of ourselves, of victims and victimizers, is pretty, I don't even know what to call that. Unreal. I mean, and we believe it's real, we believe that we're the puppet, the stick figure that we've projected, and that everybody else is also that. And that's not the Son of God. That's not what we are at all. There's one Son of God, and that's the idea we don't like. The idea that there's only one, I don't think so. What about me? What about me?
What about Bob?
Yeah. That's why it's baby stepping.
Yeah. Lee, how you doing out there on the East Coast?
I'm doing great. This is wonderful. There's some suspension of disbelief that needs to happen, like this.
You think?
Just a little bit. The first part of the conversation, the small sigh of willingness, the understanding or the belief that, that there's a perfect plan. And if I step out of the way, things, I don't want to say go well, but they happen exactly how they're supposed to for the greater good of humanity, I would think. Completely on board with that. I've seen evidence of it, it rings true in my soul. The part about the body being, I wrote it down, a projected image, for me, it's just, I think I'm in kindergarten right now, and that might be 5th grade level. Maybe it's PhD level, I don't know. But I kind of get a little bit of a concept of it. I mean, because this is real, but it's not who I am. Who I am is that. So yeah, I'm choosing not to struggle with it.
Yeah.
I think we're all in kindergarten here. You're in good company.
We're all in the same place.
Yeah, there's kindergarten 101, and then there's a little bit higher in kindergarten. But I think for the most part, we're all. I mean, every time we wrestle with anything, we're back in ego mode. We're back in we're full-blown egos if we're upset about anything. If it's mild irritation, if it's anger, lesson 20, 21, 22, they talk about a little irritation is just a thin veil rage over this rage that's going on, that's, coming from this identification with a not self. We minimize it. We make it look like a little irritation, but man, when it gets out, look out. Run. And so that when we go ego, is what I'm saying, is we go 100%. We're back in ego mode. When we go Holy Spirit, we know that when we get to that place where we're feeling Jesus' presence, we feel his love, we feel him looking at the seeming other guy and myself, as still innocent, as still one Son of God. When we have that experience, all that evaporates. I mean, we're still seeing images, but they're not a big deal. Mm-hmm. So the Course's focus is always about having that perception. And then out of that awareness, then we do what we do. Usually it's the same thing, but we just do it nicely, a little bit more nicely than we were before. Doing anything behaviorally from an ego point of view, we have to find people to judge. We're not admitting that out loud, but that has to be the case. And doing anything from a Holy Spirit point of view, where we have that experience in a present moment of his loving us, loving our brothers, then what we do is just much more gentle and not, there's no need then for finger pointing. There's no need then for finding blame and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's It's like an exhale.
A little
That little sigh.
A little sigh, yes. And yeah.
That
I
little
just,
let go. We don't have to figure it out.
yeah, a sense of hope and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
A gentle exasperation? How's that?
Yes. You know. I don't have to explain it with words. You know.
Yeah, right.
I'm just happy to be here and, happy to learn.
Yeah. All of us, same.
Duke's up there in Rapid City, South Dakota, where everybody is having a holy instant because of Duke.
Duke, how are your classes going, Duke?
I'm going every Wednesday. Just had one last night. Yeah. Tom and
Great.
Roland showed up.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
How's Roland doing?
He's doing pretty good. He's working as a counselor and
Yeah.
he's pretty involved in the course.
Roland's a Native American up there who his mom
Great.
didn't his mom like do the course before he did. I mean, he's one of those few people we know that whose mother actually kind of passed it along to him.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, still pretty much same routine. Got the same stuff going on, same job, same everything.
Yeah, imagine that. That's what I mean. We're all pretty much doing the same thing. We're just a little bit nicer about it. We don't have to find bad guys at work.
Yeah. A big part of it, it's what I call being self-aware. I'm aware of my thought processes, and I can call it out. I don't have to stay stuck in it.
That's awesome when we start to be
That's the
aware
difference.
of what's going on in our minds. So we can choose again. Otherwise, there's no choice to be made. We're in our thoughts, and we think that the thought is what we are. So awareness is key.
Duke has a really interesting website where one of the ways he shows himself having a holy instant is he walks a tightrope.
Slackline.
Slackline. Like across canyons with a 200-foot drop.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of that.
Man on wire, huh?
Man on wire, yeah. Yeah,
It definitely brings me into the moment.
you would kind of have to be.
It's kind of a forcing process, but
Really, any of you, if you're interested, go to YouTube and put in Duke Gust, G-U-S-T, and you'll see Duke slacklining across these precipices and way up canyons, walking across on a rope. It's really
He throws
something.
a little Course in Miracles in there too, but
yeah. I've learned that that's where the safe place is out there. It's everything else that's dangerous.
Uh-huh.
That's good. I ain't doing that.
It's when I realized everything is equally dangerous. Walking out of the house,
Oh.
everything. It's equally dangerous.
Equally dangerous.
That's how I work through the psychological process to be able to do things like that.
Yeah, or is everything equally safe if you're with the Holy Spirit?
Yeah, well, it's everything's the illusion of danger, but or I can't remember the movie. It's said illusionary physical danger is real, but fear is not. Fear is a lie, and it's just a head game. It doesn't really exist. It's. And that's what this whole reality is based on, is the false evidence appearing real. It's fear that we're separate from our source, and it's a lie.
That we're in danger. If we're here, we are in danger.
Yeah.
If we're really here in a body, in a world, we are in danger, but we're not here. So
it's just respecting the power of our mind to actually perform such an elaborate illusion. And that's really a big part of the forgiveness process. Is I realize I set this whole as a one mind. This whole thing was set up this way, and that's what I really got to forgive is myself.
Yes.
And then I can have some real fun.
While we got you on, you want to read paragraph 2 on page 380?
Yeah.
It's got that zinger first sentence.
All right. And then I'll read this, and then it's 10, so I gotta get going to work. Kind of short on time, so I'm gonna have to leave the meeting early.
All
But
right. Go be holy.
I haven't seen you guys in a while. I've been busy, so I wanted to definitely say
Yeah.
hi to everybody.
Hey. All right.
Good to see you, Duke.
All right. Read the first two.
Yeah, first couple sentences, sure.
First couple sentences.
Yeah.
The little willingness.
No, paragraph 2.
The first. Okay, I got you. Trust not your good intentions. They are not enough. But trust implicitly your willingness, whatever else may enter. Concentrate only on this, and be not disturbed that shadows surround it. That is why you came. If you could come without them, you would not need the holy instant.
That's good. So if we could come without our shadows, we wouldn't need the holy instant. We wouldn't have to work at it, meaning work at letting go of the things that are standing in the way of the Holy Spirit's perception. And one of the things that stand in our way is our behavioral good intentions. And it doesn't look like we're, it doesn't look like we're trying to block our peace. It looks like we're actually having a good intention towards something or somebody. But it's, if I do it based on the separated self, and your separated self and my belief in that, then my good intentions look like I'm just trying to help these stick figures out. And that's not innately a bad thing. But because we're doing it, if we're doing it from the point of view of the ego, the underlying motivation is that when those good intentions fail, I get to point the finger at somebody. If I'm doing it from the point of view of identifying with the stick figure. So it looks good, but not really, because I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop if I'm in ego mode. And that's why we do what we do. The whole thing of identifying with the stick figure is to find other stick figures to point the finger at and say, that's the reason I'm in pain, not because I'm choosing this silly identification. So good intentions from the ego's point of view are not really. It's just looking for a setup. They're not enough, but trust implicitly our willingness to look at it a different way. And shadows will come and go, shadows of sin and shadows of guilt and shadows of finger pointing and all that stuff. We kind of default mode will have those images, but as long as I stay centered on, I'm still a little willing to look at this a different way, as long as I'm still sighing in that direction. That's what he's trying to get us to do, is to stay centered, focused on a little willingness to have that experience of the holy instant instead of all this judgmental finger pointing we do.
I was just thinking how huge a shift this is. And it has gotten increasingly clear to me as a result of having done the, and given the death and dying seminar. It makes it very clear that the ego's goal for us is death. That is the ego's motivation behind everything, whether it's the little death of finding my brother as an enemy and I see him as treating me unfairly. And so what I'm showing my brother in his unfair treatment of me that I'm imagining is death. I'm saying, behold me, brother, I'm on the cross, and at your hands I die. You're killing me. I'm suffering because of you. Well, that's just a little death, seemingly, but it's the idea of death. And the ego is always trying to teach us death and that we're going to die. And of course, we do, because we believe we're in bodies. So that this little shift, the little willingness to turn away from death. He says every moment you're choosing between crucifixion and resurrection, and you don't know it, but we're doing that every minute. So this little willingness to turn away from that and find another way from the Holy Spirit is huge. And he said, don't add any more to it. Just give me the little willingness to turn away. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
In paragraph 3, in sentence 3 in paragraph 3 on page 381, he talks about what's standing in the way of having this experience of the holy instant. And he, you know, he's pretty uncompromising that it's we just forgot, you know, to ask the Holy Spirit for help. He talks about it's our fixed determination to stay focused on this identity and then blame the pain I'm feeling on something or somebody else. So he says, paragraph 3, line 3, your difficulty with this holy instant, with having this perception of the Holy Spirit, seeing my brother and myself the way the Holy Spirit is, it arises from my fixed conviction that I am not worthy of it, that I am this stick figure, that I am not a decision maker in my mind, that it is choosing between the ego and the Holy Spirit, that I'm this vulnerable self. And because I'm a vulnerable self, you know, I'm not real holy. I mean, there's a sense that, you know, Jesus was pretty invulnerable even in the Bible stories, but I don't have that sense about myself. I feel pretty vulnerable. And there seems to be, you know, a not so subtle association with me not being worthy, me being unholy, because I am identified with that not self. That's very vulnerable. And what is this but, and this is where he's not real subtle about it, is the determination, my determination to be as I would make myself, to be this stick figure, to be this vulnerable, somewhat unholy self, and to insist that you know, there is no voice of the Holy Spirit where I can see things a different way. I mean, it doesn't look like we're doing that, but that's what he's saying is just underneath the surface. I didn't forget to ask the Holy Spirit for help. I don't want to ask him for help, you know, because he will help. I mean, that's why we keep coming back to this, is when we ask the Holy Spirit for help to look at each other a different way, it actually works. and you know, to the degree that our egos are afraid to lose this identification with this stick figure self, you know, I really don't want to admit how much I don't want to do that.
It works. Well, I can't have that.
yeah, right.
I was about to say,
go find something that doesn't work. Oh yeah, I will. I can and will.
I was about to say that sometimes that we that's the reason we don't want to ask, is because we know it does work.
Yet it don't look like that. It looks like we're running around trying to find peace on a good day. It doesn't look like on most days we're running around trying not to find peace. So it's not the block to our, you know, the introduction to the course. This is not a course about love. This is not a course about being nice to each other. This is a course about removing the blocks to my awareness that we all are already eternally nice. We're already gentle. We could be walking around gentle and not know it. We could be walking around trying to insist we're not gentle, that we're not wholly worthy, that we're not one son of God.
Sheep in savage clothing?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the Course in Miracles humor.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah. I was just thinking, and this is kindergarten question perhaps, but it feels catch-22-ish, like, you know, and maybe there's a place you can direct me to, but it's almost like, what's the point of creating us with this massive ego? It's like the ego way outshines the Holy Spirit. And so there must be a point. And is the point simply for us to choose?
So the question really is, it's a variation, and there's many variations that really aren't so subtle when we realize we're doing them. And Jesus says, you can't be in ego mode. You can't be we can't be identifying with a stick figure and not ask this question, like, why would we leave heaven in the first place? What was the motivation? What was the point of leaving heaven? And Jesus would simply say, well, you didn't.
How did the impossible occur?
It didn't. It didn't. And there's three other ways he deals with that idea. And they're not really answers to the question of what's the point, because there is no point. And one of the ways he deals with it, he says, why are you asking about something in the past, like why did we leave heaven in the past, when you're doing it right now? Well, that's kind of insulting. No, I'm not. Oh, well, maybe we are. I mean, if we're seeing separate beings and we're identifying and judging like crazy, then we're doing it right now. It's not like, yeah, we sort of did it in the past, but the only way we're believing in all this right now and being invested is because of that, because I'm choosing to be separate right now, and the pain I'm feeling because of it, I have to blame on somebody else. So that's one way he doesn't. That's one of the points he's trying to make. There is no point in doing this at all. It's kind of like he says it's not a question. This is the second one. It's not really a question, but it's me kind of throwing a tantrum like a 2-year-old saying, I'm here. Now you tell me how I got here. You know, like, I mean, I'm really an old, it'd be like a 2-year-old affirming that he was really an old man. He's throwing a tantrum, telling his father, I'm really 65 instead of just 2 years old. And what does the father do? He just waits till the kids stop throwing a tantrum. I mean, you can't really talk to somebody when they're in that mode. It's just, you got to wait till they kind of burn out on it. Like, so we're insisting that we're separate, that we're these little stick figures running around. This is our identity. And now you tell me how I got here. So that's kind of insulting too, certainly from an ego point of view. And then the third way, which is, I think, is the nicest way that Jesus deals with that. And this comes up every class, so it's not really kindergarten. I mean, we ask it all the time in not so subtle ways. It's interesting the way it comes out. And the other way Jesus answers it, he says, when we get to that experience of the holy instant, when we have that palpable experience of Jesus being in, through, and around us right this second, that question of what's the point evaporates. All that just kind of just goes away.
To her, Lee, to your mention of choice, you said, what's the game here? Is it something to do with choosing? The Course says our one remaining power in this world, our only power in this world, is the power of choice. And that power is to choose to look at the tiny mad idea with the Holy Spirit instead of the ego. So that is the decision-making function that we all have. Is this whole thing is a reflection of the tiny mad idea. The world and the bodies are just reflections of the tiny mad idea. And for me to look at that idea, which is here every moment I get to look at whether I believe the tiny mad idea and I'm guilty, or I look at the tiny mad idea with the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit, smiles and shrugs it off. It's nothing. It never happened. So that becomes a real experience, though, not just saying, oh, it's not real, but we actually see in looking with the Holy Spirit that what we thought we made really has not even happened. It hasn't happened. And so that's the bottom line experience we're going for, that nothing happened we never left heaven. We're still there, and we are still as God created us. So choice is really important. It's our one power in this world. And it could be said the entire Course in Miracles is about that one choice.
I was just going to add to that thing of choice. It's a vertical choice, and the Course seems like it presents in countless ways how the world of the ego tries to make it look like there's myriad of choices in the world. It's like illusion A equals illusion B equals illusion C, but the ego never wants us to see that. As long as there's some other carrot on a stick, there's some other situation, some special relationship, some specific that's going to make us happy, then we keep thinking we have a choice between illusions, but that's kind of all part of the dream script, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
There are no choices in the world. They all lead to death, every one of them. So
Yeah, if you don't want to know that, don't read chapter 31. It's called The Road to Nowhere. Oh, no, it's called The Real Alternative. But
yeah,
he talks about the road to nowhere. The Talking Heads had that song back in the 1980s. I swear the Talking Heads were course
they
students.
were enlightened. Yeah.
They were course students for sure.
Yeah.
Angela, you survived the weekend. Or it looks like you did.
Yeah, I survived it. It was a busy weekend, but I'm coming down with something. My throat is really painful this morning.
Oh, so it's an overreaction to all those insights that you were imbibing.
Working too hard.
I hope you feel better quick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Even though it's all an illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave's down there in Pueblo, Colorado. He holds all the light for Pueblo down there. How you doing with that, Dave?
That's a bit of an overstatement, Tim, but
Oh, you are worthy.
yeah. Well, thanks. What you gonna ask me a question or what?
No, I kind of lost it. I started. Yeah, just wanted to check in.
I'm alive. I'm kicking. So.
All right. Very good. All right.
We should see if we can finish this.
So I just want to point out this book because it's a great little cheat book. One of the things that's really difficult, certainly as new students of the course, and as I still go back to it, obviously, I got it out this morning. It's Ken Wapnick's glossary index, and it points out brief one paragraph definitions of words that we traditionally think of in one way and the course uses in another way. For example, forgiveness. Forgiveness, as the course knows it, is really radically different than a traditional sense of forgiveness. Atonement is different. The Holy Spirit is different. Jesus is different. So in this book, I looked up willingness, and he actually has the phrase, a little willingness. And this is what he says. A little willingness. This little willingness, joined with the Holy Spirit, is all the atonement requires, is all this process of waking up requires. Our little willingness joined with the Holy Spirit. Our ego seems to make the undoing of guilt impossible. Certainly the undoing initially of your guilt, I'm sure you're the guilty party, and then my own internal guilt that's being projected out. Our ego seems to make this undoing of guilt impossible. And on our own, identified with the little stick figure, it would be impossible. You can't maintain an identity with a stick figure and not defend it, not find guilt somewhere. But the willingness to forgive, to let go of this guilt, allows the Holy Spirit to undo the guilt for us. Looking with the Holy Spirit at our own guilt is looking at it without judgment. Meaning, one of the big themes we had at the seminar was this image of Dobby in Harry Potter. And Dobby was always bad Dobby. Dobby did something wrong and he'd bang his head against the wall or he'd be beating himself on the back. It's quite the image. In Lord of the Rings, it was Gollum. It was a little darker. But Dobby turned out to be a hero in the end because he transcended all that stuff. But it's what we do as stick figures is we beat ourselves up for not being course students. It looks subtle, but it's not real subtle. I mean, it's like bad course student. Not only do I not understand what the course is saying, but I'm not feeling the holy instant either. In fact, right now, and if that feeling goes on and on and on, it seems like it's impossible, which is what the ego wants us to believe. which is what we tell ourselves is true so that we don't have this experience of the holy instant. So, I mean, the whole thing is a clever trick on ourselves. We're not really tricking anybody else, but it's this self-inflicted trick to believe that we're actually separate and that we're actually in pain because of somebody or something else. That's the way we maintain that whole identity is, yeah, I'm still in pain because I know I'm this separate stick figure that's vulnerable, but all the pain I'm feeling, I didn't choose this. I don't have a mind. I don't have this voice of the Holy Spirit saying this isn't who I am. I mean, the ego has to believe that and then shut out that possibility of asking for help totally out of our awareness.
What? My signature at the bottom of every page of the screenplay? How could that be?
Until the Course comes along, or usually we're in our 40s when we go, there's got to be a different way than doing what I'm doing. We don't realize we're saying there's got to be another way to look at it. But we think there must be another way to do it even. And then the Course shows up, and then we're off and running with this whole new process, all these new words, forgiveness from the Course's point of view, atonement, and Holy Spirit, and the mind gets redefined. It's not part of our brain. Lynn told me yesterday she had an experience that her mind was leaving her brain. I just looked at her. I wasn't quite sure what she meant. I thought she was having migraine.
Weird.
I thought she was having migraine, actually.
That was totally weird. I couldn't follow any line of reasoning that the ego would come up with. I could not follow it. It was just like, I am totally incapable of following that line of reasoning. And it went on for a while. It was like, it was like all of those functions that you count on.
When in doubt, take a nap.
The ego for, to do and figure out and manipulate and control. And I couldn't follow it. Oh, well. I don't know if that was a good thing, a crazy thing. I have no idea how to evaluate anything like that. Just, let it go.
John Pratt, you got any thoughts about a little willingness?
A little bit. I think in some ways it kind of connects with, the Course uses the word accept a lot too, and will can be used as a verb also. It's an assertion of what we are. Which I like. And from some little spot we remember what we are, and we're actually, it's an active assertion of saying I'm willing to be as God created me. Even if you're completely impaired in whatever way you might think that you are. You still have that light in you, I believe, so we're an event. We're not an item, we're an event. How about that?
That's good. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
We're an event.
How am I over?
I don't know. I didn't have my phone.
No, not yet.
All right. Okay.
I wanted to look at a couple more things here. I mean, he basically repeats this idea of a little willingness in every paragraph, and not only in this section, but he carries it over to the next section, Happy Dream, and he keeps affirming it. And in this case, he talks about the little willingness in terms of our relationships. Am I willing? It always comes down to, am I willing to start the forgiveness process in terms of my brother, the way I'm seeing my brother? Because the chemistry, the logic of the Course is that if my brother is a projection of this internal thought of guilt in me, then if I start working on my brother, I'm looking in the mirror, and if I'm willing to let his guilt go, that is my guilt. So it begins to, like, this waking up begins to happen when I start dealing with my obvious judgments about my brother. He's not even saying let go of the judgments. I mean, ultimately he is, but initially the process is to look at how often I judge how badly I feel when I judge, even if I'm right? And then am I willing to look at my brother a different way? And that starts this whole undoing of guilt, because his guilt is my guilt, is our guilt, actually. If I let go of his guilt, I'm letting go of our guilt. And then eventually we move into this awareness in the second step of forgiveness that that guilt kind of permeates everything, and how much we really believe that we're hopeless. It's really the dark night of the soul. The second step of forgiveness is looking at everything I think I am is permeated with this judgment, is permeated with this sense of hopelessness almost. And then we really need the Holy Spirit to go, no, I didn't go anywhere. Stop looking down, stop being bummed out, look up, and you'll see, you know, you're still okay, I still love you, and everything's cool.
Should we start there?
Go ahead. We're on page 383 in the next section, and Lynn wants to read about relationships.
Yeah, at the end of chapter 17 was the healed relationship and the setting of the goal. So, you know, he's coming off of chapter 17 here, where we gave our relationship, meaning any symbolic relationship is all relationships. So I give the relationship to the Holy Spirit, for the Holy Spirit to teach me what's true in every relationship. But we start out with our significant others in our lives, our family members, our spouses, our people we work with every day. So he's saying here, it's not a dream to love your brother as yourself, paragraph 5. Nor is your holy relationship a dream. All that remains of dreams within it is that it is still a special relationship. In other words, it still appears to be a relationship between two bodies, but it's no longer a relationship between two bodies. It's a relationship in which the Holy Spirit has been invited into the relationship as the third party that's going to show us the truth of our relationship. Yet it is very useful to the Holy Spirit, who has a special function here. It will become the happy dream, meaning the relationship with the Holy Spirit now included in it. It will become the happy dream through which he can spread joy to thousands upon thousands who believe that love is fear, not happiness. Let him fulfill the function that he gave to your relationship by accepting it for you, and nothing will be wanting that would make of it what he would have it be. So the Holy Spirit now uses the relationship for his purposes, whereas the ego used the relationship not for communication, but to find the guilty person in my friend, my partner, the other person. He is the guilty one, and he's treating me unfairly, and I'm the victim. And that just keeps the whole cycle of attack and guilt going in our minds. So that's the idea of death that keeps getting promoted. When you feel the holiness of your relationship is threatened by anything, stop instantly. So he's even showing us how we can ward off, you know, one of these descents into hell with the relationship, taking it down with us. He says, stop instantly and offer the Holy Spirit your willingness, in spite of fear, to let him exchange this instant for the Holy One that you would rather have. Not the instant of fear and conflict, but the one you'd rather have now, because I've chosen another way, and I want the Holy Spirit to be my teacher. And how I'm going to learn that the Holy Spirit is with me, working through me, is how I'm going to see my brother. It's going to shift. It's going to change the nature of how I was using that relationship.
I like that phrase, in spite of fear. So he's not even asking us to like walk around saying, I do believe in ghosts. I do believe in ghosts. I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to affirm that. We can be scared to ask the Holy Spirit for help and still ask him.
Yeah.
In spite of fear, like in spite of, yeah, I'm a little iffy about this, but okay, you got a few seconds. Show me something else.
Yeah. In spite of, I think I want to be right a little bit. I still want to win this argument. I still want to triumph over my brother. In spite of perhaps a little bit of that still remaining, I'm willing at least to turn the relationship over. And he says he will never fail in this.
The Holy Spirit. The
Holy Spirit will never fail in this. But forget not that your relationship is one. So it must be that whatever threatens the peace of one is an equal threat to the other. Because our minds are joined, if I'm fearful and angry, then I'm sharing that with my brother. This is what my gift to him is, my fear, my anger, my worry. The power of joining, its blessing, lies in the fact that it is now impossible for you or your partner to experience fear alone or to attempt to deal with it alone. So, we're both fearful. If anybody is fearful and angry, then we both are, in a sense, that I'm giving that to my brother. And I don't have to deal with this alone. I have the help of the Holy Spirit. Never believe that this is necessary or even possible. Yet, just as this is impossible, so is it equally impossible that the Holy Instant come to either of you without the other. So if I invite the Holy Spirit to the relationship and join in the Holy Instant, my brother will experience that as well.
So usually, from a normal point of view, we ask for the Holy Spirit's help to help me feel a little bit better, even though my brother's being a jerk. Help me feel better. My brother's causing this problem. I really don't want to include him in the process. I don't say all that out loud. I just ask the Holy Spirit to help me feel better. But maybe not him, because look what he did. So this whole, you really have to step out of time and space and be willing to do that in order to have this experience of that we're already joined, and that we're reinforcing in each other either separation or forgiveness. We're reinforcing each other either finger pointing or letting go of that finger pointing. Jane, you got something?
I'm sorry to do this, but I wanted to tell Lee a book that I think is wonderful, and that's the most commonly asked questions about the Course in Miracles. And it's written by Ken and Gloria, and it is a wonderful book for people who, are just starting the Course, I think it's a great one.
Yeah, I sent Lee a list of things. I don't know if you've received it yet. I sent it off this morning, Lee. Good. But this one that Jane is recommending is also highly recommended, and it's available at the Foundation bookstore as well.
I was wondering if the book that Tim just mentioned, was that also on your list? I was looking for it, but I didn't see.
It's the glossary, and that glossary is also available at the Foundation for A Course in Miracles bookstore.
Okay, thank you guys. This is great. I did get your email. I just got it right before the call, so I wasn't able to respond, but thank you. It was so helpful.
Right.
But I think the Foundation is going to be closed for a couple of months, as I understand it, because they're moving. So you probably should go to Amazon. I bet Amazon would have those books.
The email I got, Jane, maybe this is an update, but was that the Foundation is closing the bookstore on September 1st.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah, so it's not closed yet, but
okay.
Yeah.
So buy your ticket to get to heaven quick.
Yeah.
Before it closes. Then it'll be closed. I'll end with the italics prayer on page 384. And
start with whoever's saner, though.
I've been told to start not where I was going to start, being the good little puppet I am. My good intention is enough. Whoever is saner, moi, at the time the threat is perceived, should remember how deep is his indebtedness to the other guy and how much gratitude is due the other guy, and be glad that he can pay his debt by bringing happiness to both. Minds are joined. Let each of us remember this and say, we'll do this, get quiet for a moment. I desire, I wish, with a quiet sigh, for this holy instant for myself, that I may share it with my brother whom I love. It is not possible that I can have it without him, or he without me. Yet it is wholly possible for us to share it now. And so I choose this instant as the one to offer to the Holy Spirit, that his blessing may descend on us and keep us both in peace. And gently come back if you want to. You can stay there. Thanks, everybody, for visiting from all over the planet today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, make it a great one.
Thanks.
Thank
Love your
you.
brother as yourself, because he is yourself.
Yes.
Such a comforting prayer. I love it. Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. See you Tuesday.
Tuesday.